Well, Canada are coming off the back of a convincing 3-0 victory away in Bucharest against Romania, but now face the 31st ranked nation in Wales, who are only 3 spots behind the Canadian men's national team. So this is a very exciting, a perfect, but arguably an ideal test for Canada as well as Wales. Because yes, Canada have already qualified for the World Cup, and it is a home World Cup for the Canadian men's national team, who are now preparing for the 2026 World Cup. Wales, on the other hand, are coming off a 1-0 victory against Kazakhstan in the UEFA World Cup qualifying to keep them in contention to qualify for the World Cup against sides in their group, in a very difficult group against North Macedonia and Belgium. So this is not just a great test for Canada in getting good quality opponents for the World Cup that match up well against the Canadian men's national team. This is a great test for Wales in just preparing and trying to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. And this isn't just a good matchup. This, for me, is a perfect matchup, both stylistically as well as formationally, for Canada to come up against Wales and test themselves. This is a great and ideal opponent for Canada to play against Wales, and this goes vice versa for both nations. Arguably a perfect matchup on either side of the coin, and we're going to break down why I believe Canada against Wales is perfect for both sides. We're going to break down the threats that Wales will pose to the Canadian men's national team, as well as my Canadian starting lineup predictions. Before we jump into it, guys, make sure to let me know your thoughts on Wales and what you think this matchup will turn out to be, and your starting lineup prediction as well as score predictions. Make sure to smash that like button and hit that sub button as we continue to move closer to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. But this is going to be a very exciting matchup between Canada and Wales. And yes, I say that between every Canadian matchup now, because these are very good tests for Canada. Canada is now the 28th ranked nation in the world, coming up against the 31st ranked nation in Wales. And Wales are in a very difficult situation right now as they sit in 3rd place in their World Cup qualifying group, just behind Belgium, tied with them on 10 points, with Belgium having a game in hand, and North Macedonia sitting atop of their group. So this is a very difficult opponent for Canada to play in Wales, who are in a situation where they need to continue to play well and to build chemistry in a very difficult World Cup qualifying group, where they need to continue to play well and prepare to qualify for this World Cup. But what formation does Wales play? Well, they currently play a 3-5-2 under the manager in Craig Bellamy. But this isn't the Wales team of old. This isn't the Gareth Bale, the Aaron Ramsey type of Wales. This is a Wales that pose a much different threat. A side that has pace galore, a side that would hit you on the counterattack, a side that wants to control the ball under pressure. Their manager in Craig Bellamy in the press conference has said, Canada will press us high, and we have to be able to play quickly and also have to be able to play under pressure. So this is also going to be another side like Romania, who are going to play the ball at their feet, who are going to want to control possession, who are going to want to play through the lines. That is something Canada doesn't get the opportunity to play very often when in CONCACAF or when in other matches. Especially in the Gold Cup, Canada didn't get to face sides that wanted to play through the lines, that wanted to keep the ball on the ground, that wanted to be able to control the play. And that is what Craig Bellamy's Welsh side will do. But what Craig Bellamy's Welsh side has is some very good footballers, more predominantly in the midfield and front line. When you look at this side, their attacking players are very exciting and are very quick. This Welsh side can hit you with pace and quickness. When you look at their midfield, they have players like Harry Wilson from Fulham in the Premier League, who plays in the heart of their midfield and will look to create and dictate and get his foot on the ball and create chances, and of course very deadly from a set piece as well. When you look at their fullback and more prominently their left midfielder in this system, in their 3-5-2, is Neco Williams. Of course, the Nottingham Forest fullback, who has had a sensational last campaign in the Premier League, poses a very good threat down their left flank, which will be very interesting to see who Canada lines up at right back to be able to go toe-to-toe with Neco Williams. But up front, the most dangerous player for this Welsh national team and becoming a very good player within the Premier League is Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson will play just behind Kiefer Moore in their front two. Will look to create, will look to use his pace on the break, and try to get at the Canadian back line. So there's a lot of quickness, but a lot of experience at the highest level in this Welsh national team. And even have some quality on the bench in David Brooks, as well as Daniel James. This is a side that will look to get their attackers on the ball and create chances against the Canadian men's national team. Which is very interesting because Canada hasn't had opportunities like that, where sides want to get to their creative, their exciting, their flair players too often. Rarely Canada has had that type of opponent. Not too many teams have had that level of quality attackers that Canada has had the privilege of playing against. So I think that'll be a very good test for players like Derek Cornelius, Nico Sigor, Richie Laryea, and even players like Luke de Fougerolles, who is an academy player of a Premier League side, which would be very interesting to see how he tests himself against Harry Wilson, against Brennan Johnson. This will also be very interesting once again in a side that has a stronger, more experienced midfield to test themselves against a Canadian midfield that's going to play a midfield 2, while Wales will play a midfield 3. If you want to go even further with their wingers, with Canada's wingers, it'll be a midfield 5 against a midfield 4. This will be another test to see how that pressing does against a quick side who wants to play under pressure. It will be very interesting to see how Canada can cope with this Welsh national team, especially how Canada coming off the back of a big result, as well as Wales are managing to sneak through an away victory against Kazakhstan. But Canada is playing away from home. They are playing in Swansea. They are playing on away territory in Wales. So this is a big game for Wales, but also another big game for Canada to go again and win back-to-back games against European competition. And I, for one, can't remember the last time we've won back-to-back matches on away soil in Europe, because that would be special. This would arguably be one of the best windows outside of the Copa America for the Canadian men's national team. So this is a great opportunity for Canada to continue to prepare and move towards the World Cup. But let's head into my predicted lineup, because this is very interesting. Of course, there's been 2 roster updates for Canada since that Romania match, with Stefan Eustáquio departing due to his knee injury and having to go back to FC Porto, which looks to be nothing of too much concern. And of course, unfortunately, with the goalkeeper in Maxime Crépeau. Maxime Crépeau, who made a terrific save against Romania to keep it at 2-0, using his head, putting it all on the line, but is now undergoing treatment for his head injury, and that is just precautionary, just to keep Maxime Crépeau at full health. And of course, Tom McGill has been brought in for Maxime Crépeau. But that leaves really with only one option in goal. And I think if he goes with a different option, it is a true statement. For me, the goalkeepers, obviously, with no Maxime Crépeau, it was already stated before this game that Dayne St. Clair was going to be the goalkeeper. Matchup-wise, Jesse Marsch said he had chosen Maxime Crépeau for the first match, Dayne St. Clair for the second match. I expected both of them to get shots and get a chance in this window. So this doesn't surprise me. The only unfortunate thing is it was an injury to Maxime Crépeau that pushes him out of the lineup for sure for this game, which could have made it a selection headache or could have changed Jesse Marsch's mind, because Jesse Marsch, we also have to remember before we dive into this roster and lineup, is that Jesse Marsch, after the Romania game, has stated, "We are not rotating for the sake of rotating anymore. This is in preparing for the World Cup, and he is going to use his best team and is going to try build chemistry now." That is basically what he said. He's not rotating for the sake of it. So this is going to be a very interesting lineup that Jesse Marsch goes with, but I think it's just obvious that Dayne St. Clair will be the starting goalkeeper for Canada against Wales. And for me, let's move on to the back line, because I don't think there's going to be any changes. I have Nico Sigor at right back, Luke de Fougerolles, Derek Cornelius, Richie Laryea. I think it's going to be unchanged. I don't see any changing in that back line. Jesse Marsch stated, rotating for the sake of rotating won't be happening anymore. There's going to be chemistry built in this team. I don't expect there to be a lot of rotation for this Canadian men's national team against Wales. And why would there be? You just came off a fantastic performance and result against Romania. build on that. Play well, continue to improve, use the bench very well again, and continue to build blocks against sides that are very good and have a lot of quality. Use your best team, use your best lineup, and continue to prepare for the 2026 World Cup. Nico Seeger was fantastic and arguably man of the match against Romania. Luc de Fougerolles and Derek Cornelius were fantastic in their pressing together. Yes, there was a few squeaky moments in that match, but they still played very well. And Richie Laryea, arguably Canada's best left back without Alphonso Davies. Richie Laryea continues to surprise me and continues to play incredibly well at left back when given the opportunity. And the only way I see that backline changing is if Nico Seeger gets moved into the midfield in replace for Stefan Eustaquio. But I have somebody else stepping in there and replacing him. And let's move on to the midfield and discuss that as well. I have right midfield sticking unchanged with Tajon Buchanan. Left midfield unchanged with Ali Ahmed. And the central midfield is where I think two changes will happen to this team. In Nathan Saliba replacing Ismail Kone and Mathieu Choinière replacing Stefan Eustaquio. Let's start with the heart of the midfield. I think it's obvious that someone's going to step in and, of course, have to fill in a major role for Stefan Eustaquio, who was arguably some people's man of the match against Romania. Mathieu Choinière, for me, is the obvious replacement. Style-wise, fit-wise, it just makes sense. He is the obvious player who can press, who can win the ball back, who can slow it down, but who can also has a true engine like Stefan Eustaquio. And if you're looking next to him, I think Nathan Saliba deserves a chance, deserves an opportunity. Ismail Kone, he got a shot, he played terrifically well, and I would not be surprised to see him starting again, and I wouldn't be upset with it either. But I think Nathan Saliba also deserves a chance, deserves an opportunity this window. And I think when you're going with the Canadian midfield, it is either Stefan Eustaquio and one of Saliba and Kone, or Choinière in replacement of Eustaquio next to Saliba and Kone. For me, that is the midfield too. When you look at right midfield, I think it's obvious Tajon Buchanan starts. He deserves it. He was a bit quiet against Romania, but he showed up when he had to show up. Big role on the Nico Seeger goal, in my opinion. Had a great play to win the free kick for the Jonathan David goal and for the free kick delivery from Ali Ahmed. And Tajon Buchanan shows up when he has to. Sometimes he's going to be quiet, but last game he played terrifically well when he was needed to, even though the ball was focused on Ali Ahmed's left side. And for me, that is another position I could see a change and wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I could see Jesse Marsch going with Jacob Schaffelberg, but this is my preferred 11, what I expect to see as well. Ali Ahmed deserves a start. Ali Ahmed deserves to be the starting left midfielder for this Canadian men's national team, for the 2026 World Cup, and continue to build chemistry in his progress. He's coming off his best game. He's coming off the man of the match performance. That's how good Ali Ahmed was. Pressed that ball into the goal, single-handedly scored himself a goal, showed up on a set-piece delivery when Canada has lacked set-piece delivery for some time, and we finally scored from one. Showed his quality both on and off the ball. Dead ball situations was terrific as well. Ali Ahmed deserves to start and deserves to continue his form. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jacob Schaffelberg, after serving his red card, gets thrown right back in. But I think he shouldn't. Yes, these are still friendlies. Yes, we should play our players, see different things. But we did that at the Gold Cup. We risked it. We changed things up. Now, this is where we beat big teams. This is where we test this Canadian men's national team and use our best 11 possible. And Ali Ahmed deserves to start once again. But let's move up to the number 9s, the attackers, the strikers, and I have, as you'd guess, unchanged. Tony Oluwase and Jonathan David. Tony has now been very good for Canada. Surprisingly enough, yes, his shooting was poor against Romania and he didn't find the back of the net. But Tony Oluwase set up the third goal. Very nice layoff for Nico Seeger. And we have to remember his pressing ability and off-ball ability around Jonathan David was fantastic. When we're looking for that partner next to Jonathan David, I think Jesse Marsch has found it. Tony Oluwase was very good against Romania, albeit not getting on the score sheet outside of an assist. Tony Oluwase was still all around the 18-yard box, was still all around causing chaos for Romanian defenders, and played very well and deserves to continue to start for this Canadian men's national team next to the man who doesn't deserve an explanation to why he should start. So we're not even going to talk about that man and Jonathan David, because that's a no-brainer. That is a pick that when he's healthy should be starting for the Canadian men's national team. And yes, some of you might want to see rotation. You might want to see Promise David start, as do I. But this is still our best 11. This is still the players who deserve to start on a regular basis. And Promise David is still getting back up to fitness. He's coming off an injury as well as a concussion with Union Saint-Gilloise, and he will earn minutes. He will start to prove that he deserves to start for the Canadian men's national team. But right now, I think that spot is well and deservedly Tony Oluwase. For me, guys, that is my starting 11 with Dayne St. Clair, Nico Segor, Luc de Fougerolles, Derek Cornelius and Richie Laryea, Tajon Buchanan, Nathan Saliba, Mathieu Choinière, Ali Ahmed, and Tani and Jonathan David. This is a very exciting lineup. This is a very exciting test for the Canadian men's national team against the 31st ranked nation in the world in Wales, against players like Brennan Johnson, Neco Williams, Harry Wilson, Daniel James, David Brooks, and the list goes on. But this is a very exciting test. One where they can come away with 2 big wins away on European soil against sides in the midst of World Cup qualifying. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments and your thoughts on the video and content, guys. Let me know your lineup predictions, your score predictions. Hit it all down below in the comments, and I love interacting and seeing what you guys have to say as we build this unbelievable community, and I truly appreciate it, guys. Make sure to smash that like button and hit that sub button in the hopes of hitting 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. But I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.